All righty. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Wait, this feels a little. Oh, sorry. As I just shake everybody, it's an earthquake. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Braveheart Conversations. I am Jillian Aurora, and this is my lovely co-host, Marie Wallace.
Hi, guys.
Hello, everyone. Happy fall. This is our favorite time of year, at least mine. I think summer is yours. But
it's my second favorite, so we're pretty close.
I'm all decked out in my fall attire. So I'm excited today. We're kind of going along with the theme of fall, which is harvest, right? It's reaping everything that we have sown this year, and what challenges we have faced, what things we have conquered and overcome. And there is such a value in not just acknowledging what we've been through, but also taking the time to celebrate, whether that is a ritual that you do or even throwing yourself a party, something where you are acknowledging the strength that you have and the things that you have done to face the difficulties, because we always have difficulties, right? We grow and learn through our difficulties. So I know this has not been a particularly easy year for many of us. It's been a challenging year for so many. Yeah.
It's long.
Yeah.
It's been long.
We've had a lot of unrest, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of conflict. People's nerves are shot. People have experienced a lot of grief and loss. And so we often tend to focus on that, which is kind of a neurological thing. It's a natural thing for us to focus on what's going wrong. But I want to encourage us all to take a moment and look at what has gone right, or look at how we have used what has gone wrong as a means of building ourselves and as a means of making ourselves more resilient and more strong. So what shall we tackle first?
There's a lot.
There's so much this year. I think COVID is on a lot of our minds, the top of our minds right now as we're heading into winter. I think we're experiencing a little bit more sickness, and we're all anticipating some sickness coming, as every winter that's the case, but this feels a little heavier. What have we learned from COVID? How have we faced it and become better people? How have we faced it and become stronger people? I think it's really easy to look at COVID and say that we have become, we're so fearful, and there's so many accusations being thrown around right now. But I'd like to take a moment and look at what we've gotten out of it that's been good. How have we faced COVID and gotten better? And I would say for myself, COVID has really helped me clarify a lot of my values. It has helped me engage my discernment, and it's really helped me practice my compassion for all people. Because in a time where we are so polarized, and you're hated if you take the vaccine, you're hated if you don't, you're hated if you wear a mask, you're hated if you don't. We've had to, I think, get really clear about what our personal beliefs are, instead of trying to please everyone, because you can't please everyone. And I think we've also had to learn, if we're open to learning it, to have some compassion for everyone, even if they don't agree with us. I know for myself, it's a very big value for me to hold everyone neutrally, and to love everyone, and to believe that we're all doing the best that we can, no matter what. I may not agree with someone, and I may not make the same choices, but I still deep down believe that they are all doing the best they can. And so that's been a great practice for me this year. And loss, we've experienced some losses. I've had friends pass away. I've had family pass away. I've had, and have friends and family who are sick right now. And it is scary. And it is sometimes hard to hold people in that neutral space, even despite seeing really, really tough consequences. So, Marie, what are your thoughts?
Very similar. Mostly how I celebrate how precious every moment is with the people that I love. I think that all that's gone on makes me hold tighter to those people and make sure that they know how much I love them and appreciate them. Even just and that wide net of compassion and love for people, holding everyone sacred. And as you said too, is that we're all we're all doing the best we can with the choices we've made, and aligning what's important. And I think that's really what it was for me too, is what's important, what can I let go of, trying less hustle, right?
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot more slowing down and going, okay, this is what's really important to me now. This is where I choose to lay my focus and how I would like to um, live my life however long I have. So even being very um, discerning about how I want my life to play out forever, how long, right? So it sure lets you let go of a lot of things that are not important, and hold on to those things that really valuable to me. So I think more than ever, I feel like I'm more in alignment with what both what I came here to do, as well as those things that I want to enjoy and love about where I'm at. Just go do the things that I've been wanting to do all my life and not wait. And so just being more living out loud a little bit more.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I love some of those thoughts. I think even though we've suffered some because of COVID, and I don't think that all of that suffering and pain is done. It has caused a tremendous amount of reflection and introspection that has been really productive. And although, just like everyone else, I really hate seeing the polarization that has happened. I also like that people have gotten some clarity, even if it's not maybe the clarity that I would want them to have. It's we're all on our own journey. And I've seen people really find their voice, people who haven't really been outspoken have found a voice. And I think some of that is it's to be celebrated, even though it can cause some polarization and we maybe haven't found that balance. But I am really glad that people have actually opened up their throat chakra, right? They're speaking, they're owning their beliefs. And I think that we have certainly not gotten it right yet, how we speak about our beliefs. And we could definitely have more productive conversations, which I deeply crave. Maybe that will happen in this coming year, is that we can have a little bit, more productive and effective communication skills. But I'm glad that people are speaking. And, it's caused me to think too a lot about fear. And at first, I was terrified of anyone thinking that I was acting out of fear. Right? Oh man, if I stay home, then that means somebody's going to think I'm afraid. Oh, if I wear a mask, somebody's going to think I'm afraid. And instead of just choosing whatever I was going to do based on what I wanted to do in that moment, what felt right in that moment. And I thought,
because no one's going to agree with you 100%, right?
Exactly. And I really thought like it was a parallel for me in the world that I talk about a lot is, women and abusive relationships. And I find that that's very similar, when we start using our discernment. We talked about this last week. When we start using our discernment, people can accuse you of not having trust or being fearful, or, sometimes when we're following our intuition and listening to our discernment, people will make accusations of us,
Yeah.
even though that might be the smartest decision for me, right? It doesn't have to be somebody else's, but it can be for me. So that's been some interesting, introspection for me. I also think we've had some really interesting conversations that have come up around freedom that we wouldn't have, we wouldn't have had that catalyst.
Right.
And it's interesting to hear some of the dialogue and the debate around, what do we honor freedom above everything else, or do we honor somebody's version of safety for everyone? Like what is the priority? And I think it's terrifying for some of us to think, what is going to be the outcome of those conversations, and we may not agree, and many of us don't agree. And I think, Marie, isn't that the fear whenever we think of having a conversation with a partner is, well, what if I have this difficult conversation and it doesn't work out?
Yeah.
And I feel like we're having a lot
what
of
does that mean for me?
What does that mean? Yeah. And I feel like we're having those conversations on a collective level, and we're scared. We're scared of how it's going to turn out. And we're fighting with people like, a partner that doesn't know how to fight well, right? That does a lot of name calling and gaslighting and straw man. So it's a scary dynamic.
Yeah.
But as any growth is, I think it's messy.
Very messy.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to the COVID victories that maybe aren't as apparent?
I can't think of anything right at the moment. Just mostly learning more discernment for myself. And I am very glad that we are having more conversations that we haven't had in the past. It's just sort of right in the forefront now. It's something you can't help but talk about. Yeah, they're hard sometimes, super hard, especially if you feel like you're going to lose a relationship. And a lot scary sometimes.
Let's talk about, we faced COVID. We've also faced mountains more collective conflict than we have in the past. Particularly, we've experienced conflict on social media, and we've experienced censoring. This is by far the most censored I have ever felt. And I know that it has been really triggering for a lot of women, the physicality of masking. I know that was an interesting trigger for me. And I think that's a very ancient trigger. This isn't the first time that women in particular have been masked. So I know that for me, that was something that came up. That was an emotional response that came up. And then feeling censored, having something you felt was a benign comment get flagged as hate speech or something crazy, has been a really violating feeling. So how have you navigated some of those things? Have you felt those kinds of triggers?
I did on the masking as well, mostly because we've watched shows too, right? Like The Handmaid's Tale, right? And anytime our mouths are sewn shut or our mask is on and we are censored, it does feel violating, because you're like, wait, we just were starting to be able to speak, and now you're back to doing that, and people not being able to hear you clearly because when they're having conversations with you, and the censoring, that's a fine line. You can see the why, the censoring to protect the safety of others, and yet at the same time it's in direct conflict with one of our freedoms of speech. And so it's like, what is the balance? How do you balance protection and safety over freedoms?
Yeah,
right. That was a big one for me
yeah
too.
And that really helped me clarify my position on that too. As we've said with other things,
We may not agree.
sometimes all of that conflict and all of that challenge helps us, well, not sometimes, it really always helps us clarify where we stand and what our beliefs are. And I think there's some pros and cons to that as well. Clarity is a great thing. Dogmatism is not a great thing. So, I have to be careful that, while clarity is welcome, I still really want to keep my curiosity. And I think that's been an issue for a lot of people, is as we found our clarity, not letting that translate into dogma, where we are just holding on to belief systems that we're not open to being informed and evolving those beliefs, which is so important, because
to evolve as a culture.
We don't have all the facts ever. We don't ever have all the facts. We always get to be open to new facts.
Which means listening to all sides, and sometimes not just the things that validate what we believe. And I think that's where it gets trippy. Even there's some discomfort level listening to another side that may grate on your nerves. And yeah, there's conversations I've heard that you feel your blood starting to go, and you're going, I need to listen to this fully, because to fully make a decision, and to make a discerning decision for myself or my family, if I'm in charge of a family, then I need to listen to all sides. And I think that's one thing I've noticed, is that people will isolate themselves and not listen to all sides. They just want to hear whatever side agrees with them. And that, to me, is a dangerous spot to be.
And I think it's important to acknowledge the brain science that that's really natural to do. It's natural to sort ourselves into these categories of ideas. However, it is incredibly destructive and detrimental. It literally causes wars, and dehumanization of others, where we start to justify violence, and it's incredibly dangerous. And so,
us and them, divisive,
things, the otherism,
those people,
and so for me, that has been, knowing that means taking accountability and being the change I want to see, meaning I will seek out ideas that challenge my assumptions or held beliefs. It means I remain open, and I purposely will remain, let's say on social media, I will remain in groups I disagree with. And I still may not like what they have to say, but I will listen. And instead of jumping in and calling names and demonizing them, I can't believe you hold that belief, you're so stupid.
Right.
Or you're, you have no empathy. You're just,
right.
You don't deserve to breathe. Whatever, that's the stuff
which you hear a lot on social media.
You really do. And so purposefully staying neutral in spaces where you choose to see someone's humanness, even though you disagree with their thoughts. I think we need far, far more of that. And so this year has certainly made me so much more conscious of that need and that practice within myself.
And back to having the conversations, because it's really nice if you can find people that are willing to have those conversations. You start to find out your commonalities and meet more in the middle, and it doesn't seem as divisive or warmongering, right? That's what we're advocating here, having more conversations to where you can see their humanness, where you can see that you're more alike than different. There's just these few subtleties, and they will feel, I say subtleties, but I don't mean it in the context that it's not important. I just mean in the big context of things, these are small differences compared to the larger picture of us being human and trying to thrive and collaborate together to do more than survive this world, to thrive in the world, is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I also think, it's been such a practice to stay out of that bubble of topics. It's so
Mhm.
easy to just be COVID,
How
politics,
I'm not gonna talk about them. Yeah.
Biden, that these are the things that we talk about nonstop. And to purposefully break out of that, which for me often means no news, because that's all you hear on repeat is the same
Mhm.
couple of topics. And so for me, it's been intentionally deciding, what do I want to learn about? How do I want to challenge myself and my beliefs? Instead of just being told what to think about in each moment. And I have found that to be incredibly freeing, because there's so much great information and knowledge out there, and I don't have to be mastered by whatever is on the screen in front of me.
Mhm.
I can choose to master whatever information is out there. And I can choose to intentionally learn what I want to. I've had some great tangents in medieval history. I've had, tangents in religion and things I really wanted to learn more about, that have been really wonderful, productive um, growth challenges this year. And I'm grateful that I don't think that without this particular climate of conflict and pressure to think, what someone else wants me to think, I don't know that I would have been so conscious about where my thoughts and my time was going. um
I've been thinking about, it's kind of weird because I've been thinking about, I have been experiencing a lot of people in grief. And what's come to mind mostly is designing my life with the end in mind, right? I know I have a limited number of days on this earth, and intentionally designing my life to focus around how I want it to look when I die. And which is similar to what you're saying as far as that goes, is I'm intentionally looking at things and experiencing things that I really want to experience. And it's not to say that those other topics aren't important. It's
mhm,
just to say that they're not my focus,
mhm,
and my they're not always right here in front of me, because I have
mhm.
so much more that I would like to give as well as
Yeah.
receive in this world. And it's not always aligned with what the world is focusing on.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be informed about COVID. I want to be informed about politics. I don't want them to take up all of my time, you know?
They don't rule my life.
Yeah, they really don't. One last thing I want to touch on, and that is whenever we experience um, deep challenges, we do experience victories, but we also experience loss and
Yeah.
grief. And so I want to talk about the losses and the grief, because that gets to be acknowledged and even celebrated,
Mhm.
because just like, the leaves are showing us now as things start to turn and drop from our trees. um, we also let go of things in seasons of our lives, and as chapters close. And we may have let go of relationships. I know I have experienced transformations as I have evolved in my beliefs, as I have been more transparent about my beliefs. I have felt those shifts. I have felt um, more loneliness where I have let go of people. I have felt just changes in relationships, and that's a natural and normal thing. But it can also feel like a deep loss. Physically, we've lost people. I lost my grandma this last year. I've lost a few friends or acquaintances from COVID. um, and we still, the cases are open. I still may lose a few friends that are very, very ill right now, and those are real, and they get to be acknowledged. And again, it's important to both celebrate the newness that's left, but also to acknowledge the sadness and the grief as we let people go or let things evolve into something new, which means we're letting go of the old way, the old relationship that was. Marie, do you want to add something to that?
I don't know, something spiritual just came to me, and that is, um, and people may not agree with me, but that just you saying the words in that way allowed me to think our relationship with that person who is physically passed evolves in a different way. And so it gives me an opportunity to view that relationship in different terms. And that's just my thing right now. Mostly, I lost my dad 6 years ago, and it was hard to be with him sometimes because he didn't share a lot. But we evolved our relationship, and I used to call him the vault because he just didn't hardly say anything. And I just remember sitting with my feet in the water thinking about him, and he said, well, who's the vault now? And because I was mad that he died, I started to get this relationship going. And then he said, who's the vault now? And then I realized that I am the one who had put this permanent curtain veil between us. And so anyway, that's just what came to me when you were talking, is that my relationship, I'm letting go of the physical relationship, and then maybe there are opportunities for me to evolve that relationship in a different way. So that's just what came to me when you said the word evolve.
Yeah, that resonates for me too. My grandma and I, near the end, had a difficult relationship because I felt more and more misunderstood by her because I didn't follow her rules like I had once. And we had been really close friends growing up. I had really been able to confide in her, and she put me through college. She helped me in many ways achieve some freedom and empowerment. And I love her dearly for that. I will always cherish her. And near her end, she really disapproved of a lot of my choices, and career wise and life wise, um and that was hard, and I had to draw some boundaries with her. And it was a change when she passed. It was like all that resolved. It was just gone, because I don't even know how to explain. Like, it's not like she now approves of everything. I have no idea. But that was no longer
It's a
a
different
barrier.
relationship. Yeah.
I could now think of her just, in those supportive ways. I can focus on that, and it's no longer, oh my God, I'm gonna have to call grandma and hear her bitch about, all the things that she doesn't like that I'm doing. But yeah, I do think there's some welcome changes and evolution that happens when we release people and let them go. And just like so much of this conversation we've talked about, any of these hard things bring up questions. They evoke clarity. We find clarity, and grief does the same thing. It really is a catalyst for us to grapple with big things like death and loss. And how do we move forward in these things? How do we honor these people? We're coming up to a holiday that we celebrate, Samhain, which is very much about the fall, and releasing and acknowledging some of the people we've lost,
honoring our ancestors.
And so I think that regardless of your culture or religious background, I think that it is very productive to set out some pictures, set out some things that were meaningful to your loved ones that you lost. Cherish those memories and give those memories a space to be, right? And I think this is a special time of year for that. And it's not like we sit and dwell on these people that we've lost all year long, but we get to have a moment where we do, and we we intentionally
honor all the
remember
gifts
them.
they brought us.
Right. And I just think there's something very, very special about that ritual and just that intention.
I just wanted to add the part about my sister. So my sister has Alzheimer's, and it really became evident in this year she wasn't able to talk. And because of all the COVID restrictions, there wasn't a lot of ways of communicating. And so I had to learn to navigate that in a new way. And what I'm saying, to add what you're saying, is I'm honoring the person she is. She's still a spiritual being, whether she can vocalize it or not. And there's ways to communicate. And it's just looking at things differently and being of an open mind to how that to could evolve, as well as that communication. So I'm just saying, and these holidays and these rituals are for honoring not only the loss, but also going back to what this topic is about, our celebrations of all the many gifts that these people have given us that are cherished, because my sister was my best friend and she still is. There's sometimes that physical barrier holds us back. And so just find ways to honor them and cherish them and celebrate them, and taking off whatever limitations you might have with the word Samhain, or that it was, a holiday of, pagans, or however you want to look at that, is take away those labels and look at what the meaning of the ritual is all about.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. And this may not be the talk you had in mind for celebrating victories.
This was way different than we expected, even.
But I think it's exactly, to me, this is the root of celebrating victories. It's not a superficial, look at the goals that I checked off this year, but it is the deep, profound, what challenges did I face and become victorious over? And
what wisdom did I gain?
yeah, and even the losses and the deaths that we experience, how did we face them and gain victory over them, and come out with more depth and complex truth and more clarity, all of those really juicy things that life is about. It's just
Less limitations. Like what I learned with my sister is I was the one that was limiting what that could look like. So we can break out of even the thoughts and limitations we give ourselves.
I agree. Yeah.
Yay,
So
was
lots
a
of
juicy
things
conversation
to be victorious about or celebrate our victories. We will be talking more about grief, I believe, in November next month. So if you want to dig deeper with us into that particular topic, know that that is coming up. Next week, let me see here. We have... We jumped to 106. Oh, there we are. What we've learned. So yeah, we can dive deeper
nice
into
piggyback.
Yeah, perfect. What we have learned through the year, through whatever we've experienced. So what am I missing? If you want to contact either of us with any of your questions, if you have a difference of opinion, if you have a topic request, we would love to hear from you. You can reach out to me at defytheaverage@gmail.com or
Marie at marieschool.com. Yeah, we welcome that.
Definitely. And then you can also follow us on our Facebook group, Braveheart Conversations. You can find us there and see lots of our past episodes and enjoy conversations there, discussions about each topic. And you can find us on Podbean or Spotify or Apple, any of the major podcasting platforms. And we will be here every Thursday morning around 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And so we welcome you to join us next week. I hope that you all have a fantastic fall week. Get out there and enjoy some walks and enjoy all of those beautiful colors.
Yeah.
So, with that, I hope you all have a fantastic week and we'll see you next time. Bye bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Awesome.